Hi, welcome to Writing Inside Out with me, Creative Flow, here in the Creative Writers Cabin. Today I'm talking to myself. Actually, I do that quite a lot, but I guess this is a little different. Hi, I'm Jo. I'm the founder of Writing Inside Out, which I've set up to help inspire, motivate, connect, and showcase different people's writing and personal story. I live in Cumbria with my dog Millie, and I am a writer with a background in personal development through the outdoors. So I've spent a lot of time over the years taking people on adventures in mountainous places, on the sea, rivers, lakes, both in the UK and abroad. And throughout that whole time, there was some threads that came out of my time working with people. And one of them was the sense of journeying, and the sense that you journey internally as well as externally. So we journey practically, physically, kayaking, walking, exploring. But people were also journeying emotionally inside. So that's a thread that's in me. And then also in the power of nature. So doing all of that in the power and sometimes the exceedingly challenging environment of being out in Mother Nature. So those two threads come through into my founding of Writing Inside Out, alongside, obviously, my love of writing. In more recent years, I've been guiding on the Coast to Coast route, which is a long distance walk in the UK. And I took on board the old adage of write about what you know. Well, in guiding on the route, I've got to know it fairly well, both in terms of geography, in terms of physical place, but also in terms of the sense of where people were at in their lives when they've been walking it. So the Coast to Coast is a setting for my novel, which is called One Step Forwards. And it's about a young woman called Amy who, after a fair bit of loss in her life, sets out to walk the long distance route across from one side of England to the other. And it's part of a promise she has made. And in so doing, she discovers the healing power of walking, of journeying, of being in nature, of meeting other people, of connecting, and most importantly, really, of connecting with herself. So it does have some really lovely themes to it, but it's fiction. And importantly, I wanted it to be enjoyable to read, and I wanted it to be, or do want it to be, a fun read and an easy read. So I've characterised her as being fairly clueless when it comes to the outdoors and walking and all that kind of stuff. So she gets up to she has a few adventures, she gets up to a few shenanigans, but ultimately, well, you'll have to read it, but ultimately let's hope she powers through. In terms of where I'm at with it, so I have a full manuscript of a first draft. Life happens, life gets in the way, doesn't it just? Those of you that have started writing books, you'll know what I mean. And if you have written a full book, you have my absolute admiration, because I have a first draft, and that will become a full draft, a full not draft, a full finished book that I'll be able to hold in my hands. For the minute, another book has come along that is going to take my time to do it, but ultimately One Step Forwards is my novel, and is a book that one day I would like to share with the world. I've asked myself to share a little bit about the book that needs to come first. So my second book, now I know you get told only to write one book at a time, but sometimes there comes something in you, in me anyway, that something just has to come out before another book can be written. So as I was writing One Step Forwards, a whole variety of themes and things were coming up for me, because although it's not me, I'm not the main character, there were themes in there that were to do with my life. So the whole idea of love, loss and learning to live again is quite a big theme for me personally. And I realised that actually the book that I want and need to write is more to do with my own personal story. So my own personal story, like all of us, you know, we all have stories in our lives. We all have things that have been big events or experiences. And for me, one of those, or I'd say probably a massive one for me, has been a fertility journey. So, and it's been at different times wanting to be a mum and not yet holding that baby in your hands, or not yet being that mother. And for some people, that's a journey that people will be able to empathize with, and for some people it won't be. But I think the sense of struggling to find what you are going to be in life and how you're going to live life and how you're going to experience life, that they're kind of like the common threads that were coming through. So I was really realizing that it wasn't just about fertility, it wasn't just about miscarriage, which is something that's been huge in my life for people that know me. It is about starting those new chapters, that new life, and trying to find your own way. And one of the things for me is definitely looking and exploring more objectively the idea of motherhood. So my book that I am now currently writing, whilst One Step Forwards waits very patiently for me, is nominally called Exploring Motherhood. It's my working title, and I don't know where it's going. I'm really excited. I've joined a couple of groups that have just, the universe has sent me different people, different things that have worked out really well. I kind of got to the stage where I was beyond the sorrow and the sadness of where I found myself in life, and I really want to get beyond that. So I figured exploring something objectively is kind of where I'm at. So my book, I don't know how it will turn out yet, will be memoir, but also exploratory. So I'm kind of living the life and writing the book at the same time. So who knows, you may well be watching this and you're already part of my journey. I may not know you, and you may become part of my journey. I think that's the power of personal story, and it's the power of writing. So that's me. That's my 2 books that I'm writing. I do have some other bits and pieces, like a couple of blogs and things that are coming to the fore. But in terms of my own big projects, they are the 2 projects. So One Step Forwards, and then a more personal story of exploring motherhood. I then wanted to share a little bit about the power of community. So the power of community when you are trying to write a book, or when you are writing a book, or when you are finding yourself as a writer, for me has been a massive part of my writing journey, writing experience so far. The Creative Writers Cabin is the group that I run. But originally, I didn't just suddenly become somebody who ran a writing group. I was a member in a writing group. In fact, I was a member of the writing group with the ladies that are currently in the group. And there's a bit of a story behind that. So we've known each other for quite some time in a slightly different group, but doing the same things, supporting each other, valuing each other, uplifting each other. And those things are the things that have kept me connected to my book all the time. So it's only in recent times that I've been the one that's facilitating that, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the facilitating of it. And the power of being a member in a group, and I'm a member in other groups. So there's other groups that are slightly different that I am part of. And I think it's that power of accountability, but without somebody telling you what you have to do or whatever. It's that sense that there's people there who kind of get the writing thing, and they get it from a practical perspective, but also get it from the barriers that we could put up for ourselves. So I think being in a community just helps us to work through some of those challenges and to realize that actually we all go through them. Like there's procrastination or self-sabotage that can happen to all of us, but also that when we are in flow, then we can celebrate that and share that. And in the Creative Writers Cabin, which of course is something that I am passionate about, we have an added feature, I guess, which is the feedback. So there is the opportunity for people to get feedback from me, but also really importantly, the opportunity to get feedback from each other, where people can get a sense of how different writings come across, what emotions it's brought up in people, what people's thoughts are. So that is also for our community particularly, that is particularly useful. But for any community, so if you are wanting to write, surrounding yourself with anybody, even like one other person who wants to write, and having that person that you can have as a sounding board, and just to keep each other going along is really, really good. So the power of community gets a thumbs up from me. And finally, I asked myself to share some top tips. So my top tips, well, this might seem like the easiest thing in the world, or it might seem like it's the hardest thing in the world, but my biggest top tip is just to start. If you have something inside of you that wants to write, it is to pick up that pen, get that piece of paper, get that journal or that keyboard, and just write whatever wants to come out. And if you don't know what you want to write, or you don't know how you're going to write, or you don't know what's going to become of the writing, then just try not to overthink it. Just literally sit there or stand there, or whenever inspiration strikes, connect the heart and the mind and the body and just write and just see what comes. So that would be my first top tip. My second top tip is a stream of consciousness. Journaling can be really good. So even when I'm writing my novel, so it's fiction, I might still start my session rather than just cracking straight on and trying to write the story. I might start that with well, how do I feel? What am I going to do? This is what's going to happen. So I'm journaling my way into the story. And then surround yourselves with other people in some way. So in a small way, make yourself accountable to that next step. So if you're like me, where it's easy to not do it if you haven't told anybody you're going to do it, if it's something you really, really, really want to do, then tell people about it. In whatever way that might be, a friend on a phone call, or however it will be, so that somebody can then say, oh, how are you going with your book? That's helped me phenomenally over the time. So where people said, oh yeah, you're right, how are you getting on? And I've gradually started introducing that more into my life, so that people can help me. So I'm enlisting the help of others to help me with my motivation. So they're my top tips. I really hope, if you're drawn to writing, that you continue writing, that you start writing, and that most importantly, that you enjoy writing and all the benefits that has. Thank you.